Hey everyone, it's Paige Sevier, and today in this tutorial we are going to be talking about nose contouring, specifically how to contour 4 different types of nose shapes. I'm going to cover just a straight old regular nose, a thin nose, a nose with curves or bumps, and a longer nose shape, and I'm going to be using my all-in-one makeup palette. Check it out. Okay, so before we get started, real quick, it's important that the color you are using to contour your nose is an ashier color and more on the gray side than the warm side, because shadows are naturally ashy, and a lot of us tend to have redder noses or bigger pores on our nose, and so we want to make sure that we're using the right shade. So if you find that when you're contouring your nose, you're seeing like a lot of redness or orangey color, or it's just looking a little funky, send me a message and I'd be happy to help you find the perfect color for your nose. Now, there's lots of different brushes and tools that you can use to contour your nose. You just kind of have to figure out what works best for you. These 3 are like my top favorites. I love the small side of the Buffy brush because it's got this little point here. The Detail Hack brush is really great for beginners because it's got a nice flat side. It's easy to make straight lines, or you can even use the smaller side. And then I also love the Blend and Tap eyeshadow brush because again, you've got this kind of smaller dome side that gives a nice straight line and it's really easy to blend. Let's start with our first nose shape, which is just a plain old straight regular nose like mine. It's mostly straight. I don't have any bumps or curves or anything like that. So when you're contouring a nose like that, the goal is to just do some nice straight up and down lines. So for my nose, I use the Buffy brush. I use the smaller side. I'm going into my ashy contour shade. I use a color called Astoria. And what I'm going to do, I always like to start from the base, is I just create this nice little V here. And the goal with contouring the nose is to create a nice thin line. And so instead of just coming on the outsides here of my nose, I like to bring it up on the bridge of my nose. So I'm creating a little bit more of a shadow on the top of my nose to create a thinner line of light. So I'm leaving that little tip there nice and highlighted and just doing kind of like these feather strokes down the side of my nose. So when I pull away, you can see I've got this really nice pencil thin line of light illuminated. Now, the beauty of using cream is that if you make a mistake, it's really easy to fix. You can just take the foundation side, and if you go, cover up too much or go a little too wide, you can just kind of dab a little highlight and bring it down the nose. So that is how you contour just a regular nose, just keeping that contour more on the top of the bridge of the nose and softly blending. And then what I always recommend is taking a little foundation and just kind of cleaning up down the sides. You want to make sure you don't have any contour on the nostril area. Okay, now let me just wipe this off here, and I'm going to show you how you would contour if you have a really thin nose. All right, so we've got that all covered up. So if you are someone, again, who has a thinner nose, you don't want to come so much on the bridge like I did with my nose, because we've already got a nice, really thin line of light here. And so most of the time I say you probably don't even need contour, but if you want to just add a little bit more shadowing there, you can just take the contour. You can use this brush, the Detail Hack brush, whatever you've got, and you can just bring your contour kind of on the outside of the nose. Just like that. So it's just really kind of highlighting the nose versus thinning it out. Really easy to do, nothing crazy. Okay, and then of course we would blend that out. For our third nose type, someone who has some bumps or curves going on, what I recommend is not contouring around those bumps. We don't want to accentuate that, and that's what would happen if you're contouring around those bump areas. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the Blend and Tap brush, just because we can be a little bit more exact on where the contour is going, and instead of just coming with these straight up and down lines, we're just going to kind of contour on the bottom half of the nose, and we're just going to create these nice little straight thin lines down the bottom half, and we're going to let that the natural curves in our nose, we're just going to let that be its own shadow. And then you can kind of come in the top and create some little lines right here to kind of thin up around the top. Now, depending on where your bumps are, if they're a little bit more on the outside, you could even kind of just bring it in a little bit more right here. But usually I recommend not contouring where those bumps are in your nose. And we're just going to do the same thing with that little V at the base. And those little bumps will just serve as natural shadows for our nose. Moving on to our fourth nose type, which is just a long nose. If you are someone who has a really long nose, sometimes contouring straight line all the way down can just make it appear wider, especially if we've got this nice line of light all the way through. So what I recommend doing is, again, I'm going to use the Detail Hack brush. You can use whatever brush you're most comfortable with. We are going to do, how I was talking about doing this little V here on the tip of my nose? So if you have a longer nose, what you're going to do is, instead of doing it at the tip of the nose, I'm actually going to switch, to the Blend and Tap so I can show you a little better. Instead of doing it at the tip, we're going to come on the top of the nose, and we're going to create a false tip here. So you're just going to kind of contour and create a little V on the top of your nose versus just at the tip. I like to say, bring it up to the middle point of your nose halfway through, and you're just going to leave a really small amount of light in the center of your nose. So instead of bringing it all the way down the bridge of the nose, there's just going to be a smaller amount of light. Now obviously this is kind of hard to tell because I don't have a longer nose shape, but you get the idea. So we're not accentuating the tip, we're bringing the tip up, and we're not highlighting all the way up and down the nose. So if I was using my illuminator, what I would do is just kind of dab it in there here. I would just illuminate right here on the center of my nose versus down here like I do for my nose shape. Okay, so however you're contouring for your nose shape, just remember to always take a little bit of your foundation once you've contoured or your highlight, and you just want to bring that down the sides of your nose and make sure that you don't have any contour on your nostril area. So we're just going to clean that up, and then I like to just take my little perfector sponge. I use the pointy side, and I just softly kind of dab and blend to make sure there's not any harsh lines on my nose. We don't want to completely eliminate the shadow, but we're just softening up those lines. And then I like to take my BBF brush, and I'm just going to go into my powder illuminator. This is optional. You can just use your highlight for this. I like to use my illuminator, and I just bring that on the tip of my nose and onto the bridge. All right, guys, I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions at all, please send me a DM or comment below. I always respond to everyone. And if you are interested in the little all-in-one makeup palette that I use in my tutorials, please comment below, send me a DM again, or you can fill out the color match form in my bio. Okay, thanks, guys. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.